Meeting of USD 431 to order. Roll call, we have everyone present tonight. Move on to item 3, adoption of the agenda. There's no changes, correct?
Nope.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, all in favor? Passes 7-0. Item 4, public comments. We have some of our seniors here. Does anybody have anything they want to say? I didn't think so. I just saw it. All right, item number 5, the consent agenda. So before you have the minutes of 10-6, regular meeting, cash summary report, check journal, and activities cash balance. Anybody have any questions on that? I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay, item 6, old business. I don't think we have any. So we'll move on to item 7, new business. Mr. Horn?
First item on there, credit card user agreement. Wrote in your notes, you should have been able to read on that this is something that we have not utilized in the past, but going through our audit with the auditor here in the last few weeks, it just was one thing they did recommend that we might want to consider establishing a credit card user agreement. That is on there. I think you've had the opportunity to look at it. I think it's a template they use for other schools. Taylor just changed a couple of items. She put one item on there that Taylor fitted it to us, and then also put our name on there. But it is at their recommendation, and I would recommend that we establish a credit card user agreement.
I move to approve the credit card agreement.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay, item 8, the KISA action plan.
This is something that KISA action plan is something we've been talking to you guys about a little bit here over the course of this fall. It's something that they've been working on. Well, every year now we have to complete the KISA action plan and update that and get it submitted to the state, and it eventually finds its way to the State Board of Education, that's where we go through the accreditation process. So for those of you taking notes, KISA, K-E-S-A, stands for Kansas Educational Systems of Accreditation. It's how we get approved or accredited by the state. So we've talked a little bit about our action plan. Nothing really has changed since we last spoke about that. It's still focused on standards alignment with professional collaboration throughout the district, working on horizontal and vertical alignment. The district leadership team went to ASDAC a few weeks ago and worked on this with the consultants there and the other 3 schools that were in attendance. We came back. We've since had a work day, put together the template, and then I took that information and worked with a consultant from KSDE to get the product that's on there that you guys would be approving tonight to get ready to send to the state. So again, it's focused on standards alignment and professional collaboration, and that was basically came about through a survey with the staff, would have been even a year ago. Any questions on the KISA action plan?
I just asked, do any of our administrators have any comments that they can make on it?
Well, like I said, it was overwhelmingly on the survey to the staff that this is the goal that we need to set for curriculum alignment. It's been 10 plus years since we've done it last. We've had a big turnover in staff during that time. We've had a lot of curriculum adoptions during that time. So it just makes sense that this is where we start.
Our teachers have really embraced it too. We've done the initial training and things, and they're gung-ho about it. So.
And our training was phenomenal. They gave us a template and everything to use. So it actually should be shouldn't be a real difficult process. It's just time consuming because you're going through every standard with your core subjects. We'll have every subject actually. So that's what our professional development days are designated to this year.
Cool. Thank you for your input.
kind of our timeline is and what our process is. We've got it now to where we're giving it to you guys for your approval. We shared it with site council, district site council before this meeting tonight. And then if you guys approve this in its state that it's in at this moment, we will then share it out to the staff and then also put it on our social media sites and the website for people in the community to be able to see it. And then by December 8th, then I have to upload all the information into the state system.
I move to approve the Kansa action plan as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. All right. Item C, Central Kansas Library System Agreement.
So this is actually something new to me, but I think maybe you guys have handled this in the past because it's a standard agreement. Our library works with the Central Kansas Library System, and it's their opportunity. It's how our whole system works, and they share resources and can get other resources through that. And it's just annually we have to update and approve their agreements. The board has to approve that. So basically, we need you guys to approve their agreement, which you've looked at. I mean, there's a couple of items on there, their Pathfinder agreement and their privacy and confidentiality agreement. Nothing's changed from last year to my knowledge. So any questions? I mean, I've read it. It's pretty long. But you may know as much or more about it than I do at this point. I just know the librarians told me, well, we have to have this. So, okay. And it doesn't cost us anything. So.
I move to approve the Central Kansas Library System Agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. Item D, KASB Policy Audit.
So this is something I think I wrote about a couple of times to you guys in my Friday notes a little bit. After meeting with Becky and Sarah last week to set the agenda, we decided we would leave our policy book sit here as a visual aid. So anybody who'd like to just thumb through this for some light reading, they're more than welcome to do so. But Trish and I met with a member from KSB, one of their attorneys, to discuss their policy services, because when I first got here and looked at the book, every time I looked at it, I'm like, it just doesn't look to be the most organized document in front of us. And I'm not gonna lie, we struggled with this probably at Stanton County too. But after visiting with the lady from KSB, I really feel like we probably need to hire them to do an audit of our policies to make sure they fully align and are up to date, and that we're basically doing what we need to do in terms of having our policies approved, because there is as you know, twice a year we have to approve, or you have to approve the KSB policy updates, but they send them out twice a year. Mm-hmm. And you guys typically will approve almost all of those. But in addition, we found out when there's a change, you also still have to store all of the historical past policies as well. So I'm not sure where we've got ours stored properly, and I'm not 100% sure we have every policy up to date. After we had that conversation, both Trish and I were a little uncomfortable with feeling like we're truly in a position where we probably should be with that. So I don't know what questions you have. They had a couple of different items you could purchase their services, but the first one would be for them to fully audit our policies to make sure we're aligning with what we need to be. And then there's a 3-year hosting service where they'll host it on our website for us. And not only that, they'll host the current ones, but they'll host the historical past ones, policies as well. So really feel like we get through that process, Trish and I might have a better idea of what it really looks like, and perhaps maybe after that point in time it's something we might be able to handle, but we just feel like this probably needs to be done to make sure we're up to date. So
what's the cost that goes with that?
It is $6,000 to go through the audit portion of it, and then it's $3,000 a year to host it. So
Does that include going through electronic files as well as this? I just thought since we went to paperless board meetings, if there's some policy changes or something that didn't get physically printed out in the book.
Well, there's some of those policies that you guys approved that are policies, they don't really consider those policies as
Okay.
much as there are procedures. And yes,
Okay.
we will have to do our best. I say we will have to do our best to get them as much information as possible, and they can build us a separate section of those.
Okay.
Since I have been here, we have started keeping track of anything that you guys have approved that's not really a policy here, but more of a procedure. We have those in a historical document now that shows when that policy was approved, because you guys approved the basically the donation policy a couple of months ago, last month or 2 months ago. And I know Becky had asked, didn't we have this already as a policy? Well, none of us really know. We know now because we have it stored, but that was as of July of this year. Since I got here, we started that. So yes, they will be able to include some of that for us as well.
Okay, perfect. And Godspeed, because I saw part of that is in scanning and importing that whole book. So, thank you to our administrative staff that has to do that.
Well, they just tuck. It looks like there's a lot of loose leaf papers in there and sticky notes. So
Yeah, so as you know, the policy updates, there's usually like 15 or 20 pages you update. Well, once you've said yes, then they just got stuffed in the book, and the index tabs are sticky notes. So
That's
it's
fabulous.
And I understand, like I said, at Stanton County, ours looked cleaner than this, but it probably wasn't a great deal more organized. I probably now, knowing what I know now, they probably need to go through this process too. So.
And when did you say they can start? I mean, you said it was Friday.
Well,
right?
they know it's as of tonight, but it's going to be about a 12-month process for them to get completely through this.
Okay.
Mostly because they have other schools in front of us too. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say something in the contract said July or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, July will be something probably for the next year, because technically it's $4,000 to audit it and $2,000 for the hosting piece the rest of this year, and then it's $3,000 after that, starting over with the fiscal year. But they did say about a year's process, right, Trish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move to approve the KASB policy audit contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay, we'll move on to item 8, reports. We'll start with superintendent's report. Mr. Horn.
Okay, I think you have it. It should be on the web school, the tools there. I wanted to go through this month with you. It's something that I've done in the past with previous boards. Not sure what the interest was like, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what my process looks like for inclement weather. Because honestly, how much we get no training for that, by the way, as a superintendent. You're just left to the wolves and you can figure out how to do it. But I wanted to highlight kind of what my process truly looks like, so you have a full understanding of what it looks like for me when I'm trying to make a decision on weather. And that first step, I mean, I start looking at the weather. Well, I look at it pretty much every day once we start getting into the point where weather might play a factor in school. But a couple, 2 or 3 days in advance, I'll start looking at it. And I always use NOAA.gov, National Weather Service, because there are weather apps out there. And I've just learned that everybody I talk to, everybody's got a different weather report. So, and this is just kind of the habit I got into at Stanton County out in southwest Kansas. That's what everybody used. All the superintendents would meet and discuss weather, but they use the National Weather Service. So I just found I'm going to pick one service and use that one always, rather than looking at 4 different weather apps. So 2 or 3 days in advance, I'll start looking at it. And then usually the day or the night before, especially if it's maybe a significant storm, superintendents in the area, we will get together. Here, they wanted to do kind of a text string. Out there, we utilized a Zoom. We would meet and we would just discuss what everybody's seeing, what they're hearing, and what kind of the plans are, what they're thinking, depending on the weather. So start talking about it at that point. Then the night before, that's why I said that's when we have that meeting and see what everybody else is doing. At that point, in a perfect world, for a superintendent, it'd be great if you can always make a decision by 7 p.m. the night before, but that never happens for some reason. In our world, you just always have to get up at 4 a.m. and go check the weather. So try to make a decision by 7 p.m. That's the goal, but it usually doesn't happen. So that means up at 4 a.m. checking the weather on the National Weather Service again at 4:15 in the morning, and then I go drive the roads. And I'll start looking and seeing what they look like. And at some point in time, I'm starting to call other superintendents to see what their weather looks like. What plans do they have? Are they going to be out of school? Are they going to stay in school? Are they going to do a late start? Not do a late start? And hopefully try to make a decision by 5:45 a.m. because our buses 6 to 6:15 bus drivers are going to start to warm those up. So ultimately the goal is by 5:45. Then if a decision is made to either delay or cancel school, would have contacted the board. Then usually like the principals and the department heads, I usually sent them a text, and then you start posting it out through ThrillShare and putting it on like the news stations. So that's kind of the process and the procedure. Any questions about the procedure?
Nope, that was you answered my one, which was what time our first rural route bus starts down the road.
Yeah, I asked Diane, and she's like, well, bus drivers are out 6:15ish or starting to warm up. So 6:30, 6:45, I think they're on the road.
Okay.
Then at the bottom, I did give you guys some factors that affect inclement weather decisions. A lot of times I will hear that it's like the roads are just too bad, we can't be out. And there's more to it than just looking at there's an inch of snow out here and people are complaining that why are we in school today? Because in the superintendent world, you're looking at how much snow do we have? What are the roads are like? What's the wind like? Are the buildings going to be warm enough? But then on top of that is, if I make this decision that we're not going to be in school today, there's going to be some kids that are probably at home. Some kids that maybe parents don't have daycare for them. They may not have meals at home because they depend on free and reduced meals. So those are things that are being taken into consideration too. Not just what do the roads look like? Are they safe enough to get here or not? Obviously, we want everybody to be safe, and certainly when it comes to ice, there's usually, you don't mess around with ice. But if there's an inch or inch and a half or 2 inches of snow, sometimes, well, can people just slow down and get to school on time? If there's 4 or 5 inches of snow, generally you're not going to be able to. So, but invariably, usually, and you guys, hopefully, since you guys are here, I won't hear from any of you, but the first time we see snow during the day, it's like, why are we in school? And that's just what we face. So questions about what all goes into this process?
The only one I would add is we've had some drastic, like sub-zero temperature days on wind chill.
We have too.
So yeah, that's always my concern, where we have students that walk around town, and particularly ones that may not always have the best coats.
And I would tell you, maybe not here. I don't know what the schools around us, what their thoughts are on that, but that's a good point. Many times we ran into that out in Stanton County, and by and large, usually you're getting around that 20 below wind chill is kind of that number when most schools are starting to say, nah, we're probably not going to be in school today because of that. So there is no set number, but it's kind of 15 to 20 below. If the wind chill's in that range, you're probably considering maybe not having school that day. So yeah, that is another one. And in fact, out there, we didn't get much snow while I was out there, so we had cold weather days more than we had snow days.
That's what we've had, a lot of 2-hour delays for sub-zero or extreme cold wind chill. So awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions on that? Okay.
What you got for that?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to item B, legislative.
Just a couple of quick updates, the things that have been in the news lately. They're really not too much in terms of a legislative update yet. I have talked about the title funds, but we still haven't heard anything on that. But one thing I will talk to you a little bit about is the current government shutdown. last time we talked about this, I think we were just getting ready, or they were just getting ready to talk about a shutdown, but it did come to fruition. The only thing that could potentially impact in our world would be like our school lunches. School lunches are guaranteed. They're not going away. We're going to be providing those. But the funding reimbursement we get from the federal government for free and reduced lunches might get impacted, because while the funds for the month of November have already been allocated, if this goes on into December, we as a district may have to cover the bill until they get back in and we can get those funds. So it is something now that's becoming closer to a reality. No guarantees, I've heard. I mean, tomorrow's election day, later in the week, maybe things will progress in terms of trying to get this thing settled. But what I've read, that's no guarantees, but a possibility. But I did want to bring that to your attention, that if this does continue much longer, we may be having to cover that bill until we can get reimbursed. And if you're wondering about a reimbursement, I put it down there. September is a fairly common month, and a little over $55,000 worth of reimbursement. So,
And that includes breakfast as well as lunch? Okay.
Yeah. Other questions on school lunches? The lunch itself, to my knowledge, is not going to go away. It's just who's going to be footing the bill until they get back. It might be us. The other thing isn't really a school thing, but I know it's kind of been big in the news. SNAP payments, SNAP benefits for families. They just today had basically it got released that the amount of funds they have to help pay for those, the government for the month of November is only going to be able to fund about half of what they normally do for those benefits. I did not know until I read that today that the monthly SNAP benefits in the United States is $8 billion a month, and they only have in their emergency fund right now $5 billion. So they're going to barely just be able to cover about half, a little over half. So the news articles I've read indicate that that's what they're planning to do, is cover half. Not a school thing, but I know I fielded some questions about that.
Well, and I'll give recognition to the Hoisington Middle School. The Ks are doing a food drive in the month of November for Thanksgiving meals for exactly this reason. So thank you.
Questions?
Okay, we'll move on to item C, principal's report. It looks like we have Mr. Mason.
All right, good evening. Overall, it's been a really good start to this school year. I will say I feel like I have a really good staff to work with. I've always said that. Having 3 new staff members, feel like they fit right in, doing a good job. So having a good staff really makes my job a little bit easier. To date, the discipline issues for this year are down compared to the last 2 years. Major discipline issues, suspensions are down 50%. From the 23-24 school year, and they're down 33% from last year. So that's a good start. Tomorrow evening, Mrs. Randolph will be hosting a FAFSA night in the high school cafeteria for those seniors that are planning to go to post-secondary schooling. So that FAFSA, that's where the students can sign up to get financial aid for their schooling. So she's going to host that tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Our student council will be putting on the annual Veterans Day program on November 11th. I invite you all to come if you're able to. That will start at 10 o'clock in the high school auditorium. I'd like to give credit to Mrs. Reif and the Stuco members for putting that together. We are having a 1994 grad from Hoisington High School coming, being a guest speaker who spent time in the military. And then after that, we'll have the annual soup supper in the high school gym for those veterans. So that's one of my favorite events that we do for the year. We invite the whole middle school staff to come up. Elementary kids do a little presentation, read letters. So it's just a really good presentation. So I'm sure it'll be great this year again. Our vocal showcase, it's middle school and high school vocal showcase, will be Saturday and Sunday, November 15th and 16th. On Saturday the 15th, it starts at 7 o'clock, and on Sunday the 16th, it starts at 3 o'clock. So those kids and Mrs. Lewis put a lot of time and effort in getting ready for that. So again, I invite you guys to see one or both of those sessions. This Wednesday, our K's Club will attend a regional conference in Hill City. And then our HOSA, the new club for students going into the medical field. Myself and Teresa Larrabee, who's kind of the co-sponsor, she's the assistant HR at the Clarabart Hospital. We took our 3 officers to a conference in Manhattan last Tuesday. They got to go to several breakout sessions. They felt like it was pretty good. There is a spring conference in Wichita that will probably open up to some more members of HOSA. And Teresa's also starting to schedule some visits and some job shadowing for those students in HOSA to go to Clarabart in the months of November and December. So looking forward to that for those kids. And lastly, we did have our parent-teacher conferences this past week. We had a 62% attendance at the high school. That's probably about an average number. Average is somewhere around 60 to 65%, but that is up from the last couple of years. We were around 55% or so the last couple of years. So 62% is not bad for a fall conference. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How long did you say?
I'd say 30 minutes, don't you think? By the time we do all that, you guys go through my evaluation stuff. It's going to take at least that.
30. Okay.
And we'll start with me and Catherine.
Okay. All right, we'll go on to item 9, consideration of district personnel. I move we go into executive session for 30 minutes pursuant to discussing non-elected personnel under the KOMA exception for the purpose of discussing nominations and resignations with Mr. Horn. And the building principals will be called back as requested,
Yeah.
I guess, at that point. And we'll start with Catherine, okay? So the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at, let's just say 8 o'clock. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0.
We didn't realize we had an option.
With the books, kids. Right there, now. Everybody's books.
Short one for him.
Yeah, you guys can. But yeah, that one should be hopefully. How long is the
Does she need to
negotiation?
sign this one, Trent? Does she need to sign this? Who signs this?
Which
So
one
we
is
confirmed
it?
it's not
Privacy and
141.
confidentiality.
And that says
100 to 35.
representative. I was planning on saying that.
Yeah, they have the scores double.
Or the
Oh my
library.
God. When I pulled it up on K-State Sports, yeah, the scores were double.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna just say.
5.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, coming out of executive session with the following, I move to accept Taylor Smith's resignation from high school girls head tennis coach. And I move to accept Andrea DeLiesel's resignation from 5th grade science and social studies teacher at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Correct.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. And then I move to approve the nomination of Mallory Hudson for the maintenance custodian position and Stephanie Hunt as custodian.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0. Okay. I move we go into executive session for 5 minutes pursuant to discuss the exception for employer-employee negotiations under KOMA, to discuss negotiations training and negotiations letter information with Mr. Horn present. We will resume in the board meeting 8:45.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Passes 7-0.
Basketball went well.
All right. No motions coming out of negotiation. It's all right, leave it on. No.
I'm just gonna mute it. Is it muted?
No, no formal ask, but I'm happy to share.
Okay, yeah.
Got it.
Okay, coming out of executive session for the second time with no motion. Item 11, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? 7-0. Our next meeting will be December 1st.
Yes.
Is that right? December 1st
December
at 7
1st.
p.m.
Yes.